It is your planet. It is my planet. It is our planet, although mostly it is mine. H-O-double-G, Planet Hog, baby, coming back at you again. Although, hey, this could be, and is most likely going to be, one of the last times you hear me say that. Yeah, working on some things, man. Working on some things, maybe changing some things around, but trying to make it enjoyable for all y'all. Anyway, I hope everybody had a wonderful week. I apologize for being away. Things are a little hectic around the house. You got people in and out and things of that nature. So I've had to kind of move some things around. Anyway, I hope everybody had a wonderful Mother's Day. It was about a week ago. We did some cooking here, surf and turf, a little bit with a little bit of a spin on it, right? We didn't do steak and lobster. We did ribs and lobster. I didn't actually eat the lobster. I don't really like lobster. Lobster is one of the few. Actually, I can put a number to it. It's one of the two foods from the sea that I don't particularly care for. The other is calamari. I don't understand it. But anyway, so the lobster, for those of you who don't know, when they ship it, it ships to your house alive, hopefully. And that's a little weird because you'll set it down and you'll hear kind of the scratching sound and the clawing sound of it moving around in the box. And then when you pull the damn thing out, it's basically, a giant sea spider. So it can be a little weird, a little queer, if you will, in the traditional sense of that word. Because I don't think you can cook and eat a gay lobster. I'm pretty sure it's a hate crime. Anyway, so I did ribs, and I'm telling you what, man, I think I got ribs down packed. Yeah, man. So I was out on the smoker doing my thing. But so when it came time to cook the lobster, obviously the lady didn't have it in her to kill this thing. I just got to hear about how sad it was. You know that thing that girls do, women do, and it's just like, it's just so sad. And then like a couple seconds later, it's like, oh, this is just so sad. I get it. It's sad. Yeah, it hasn't changed. And it's just so sad. Okay. All right. Well, how about we just don't, we got a lake out back. Let's just throw it in the lake. But anyway, so I had to kill it. And for those of you who don't know, well, I don't know, because I've heard that you can use a knife and kind of go down its back and end it pretty quickly. Although the instructions that came with ours said to just put it in the pot. Like start the water, boil it up, put it in the pot. And I'll tell you what, if anything knew that it was about to die, it was that lobster. It had zero fight in it. Well, actually, there were two, right? So there was one, through some kind of communication mistake that I was not privy to, there ended up being two lobsters here. So the one just went in. He was like a, just like one of them hardened criminals you see on them TV where it's just like, send me back to jail. Yeah, he didn't care. He was ready. The other one, as I was putting him in, stuck out his, I guess you would call that his, I don't know, whatever their foot is, the term for that, on the pan, and he like locked his foot there. I mean, it wasn't much of a resistance, but it was more than I was anticipating at the moment. But it was like the most nonchalant and non-aggressive resistance to your own termination that I've ever seen. It was just so slowly put out there, like, no, please wait, please reconsider, sir. So we just kind of scooped him and put him in. And as he went down, I mean, he went down slowly into that thing. And you know what went through my mind? It was just like, I promise you, it was just like the scene out of Terminator 2. That scene where John Connor lowers the Terminator into the, what was that, like molten steel or molten metal? That's what I saw. That damn lobster going under, and all I heard was dun 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 dun. And he stuck his little claw up, gave me the thumbs up. Actually, might have been a middle finger. Who knows? Dun 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 dun. And I'm not laughing at, I took no pleasure in killing this thing. It was oddly unsatisfying. But you do what you got to do, and it was kind of an affirmation as to what one of our many roles are as men, right? Doing the things that people don't want to do, doing what needs to be done. Now, I'll tell you what, when it was done and it was cooked, they dove right into it. Wanted no part of killing it. So, the feel so sad went away once the butter came out and the crab was boiled, or the lobster was boiled, excuse me. Anyway, so that was Mother's Day, or as it is now referred to as Birthing Person's Day, right? It's well, that's the new woke dogma. For those of you who do not know, it's the push is now to call it Birthing Person's Day because, and this kind of segues into today's topic, but there was a article that I read from, I believe it was Breitbart. I will include that as per usual down in the description box. Everything I reference will be down there for you to look at, so I'm not bullshitting you. Anyway, it was Harvard that said, had some stupid little, Anyway, it was, not all people who give birth are female. Or women, excuse me. So, basically following the new foil of stupidity, yeah, men can give birth in their world. Now, obviously this flies in the face of science, which is funny for people who like to call you names like science denier. That's all kind of funny too, that the left kind of leans on name calling when they're the ones who are the most hurt and offended by it, which kind of shows you their lack of the ability to logically dissect a problem and come up with a solution that can't be flipped back on them. Anyhow, so this Harvard study or whatever called it Birthing Person's Day. Now, why would you call it Birthing Person's Day? Well, here's a theory of mine. So put your tinfoil hat on. Why would you get rid of Mother's Day? Well, you're not really getting rid of Mother's Day per se, right? Because if we call it Birthing Person's Day, we all know that we're talking about mothers. So you're really just changing the title. But what I think the main goal is, and just hear me out, I think the main goal is to get rid of Father's Day. Well, what's that got to do with Mother's Day? Well, if we're trying to be a little guileful, I should say, or maybe a little sly in how you want to do this, you want to try to be suave about it, right? You don't want to just say no more Father's Day, especially now. Because it seems like, and I'm not optimistic, do not confuse this for optimism, but it seems like most Americans are starting to come to their senses. I don't know. I would have thought a year of rioting would have done that. I would have thought a year of unfounded lockdowns would have done that. I would have thought finding out that your main news source is full of shit would have done that. But they voted for Joe Biden. So my faith in people's ability to perceive and learn and grow is at an all-time low. But anyhow, if you wanted to get rid of Father's Day, what better way into it than Mother's Day? Now, we're not actually getting rid of Mother's Day. Like I said, we're just renaming it. Moms will retain all of their accolades and all of their adulation on said day. But if I want to appease the masses, if I want to play some prevent defense against the outrage, and rightfully so, rightfully so that there would be outrage, to clarify what I was saying there, well, I'm going to toss you some red meat, quote unquote, right? I'm going to give you one. And that's what this appears to be. Taking the mother out of Mother's Day, but you're not actually removing mothers from Mother's Day. You're just taking it out of the title. Well, why would you remove Father's Day? Well, that's really. We've removed them from the household. We've removed them from leadership. We've removed them. Everything man is now bad, right? So, but you still have this ugly holiday in June that kind of smacks you in your woke face, in your stupid, pimply, purple-haired head. So how do we get rid of Father's Day? Well, we toss you Mother's Day. Why would we get rid of Father's Day? Because, well, we want men to kind of fade out. Men in the sense of what we are. Heterosexual, masculine, strong, unyielding, the traditional man. Man classic. Because now we have a lot of single mom households, and that number's only going up across the board. But we also have households now with two women raising children, right? So what do they get? Well, in my opinion, and part of my prediction is we change Father's Day to Guardianship Day, Parents' Day, Custodians' Day, Legal Custodians' Day, whatever title they give it. But the idea is to open it up to the possibility of women. This is just a theory. I see that them changing Mother's Day to Birthing Person's Day as a chess move. And I hate to use that phrase, right? I hate to use that metaphor because a lot of people use it in ways that I don't think apply. Like, this is chess, not checkers. Like, what does that mean? You still have to have a strategy in both. Just one is a little bit more, they're just different strategies. And some of these people, when they use that, it's for stuff that takes forever if it ever materializes. See, to me, a chess move is something that is done directly to set up a coming move. And that's why I call this a chess move. Because if I take the mother off of, but not out of Mother's Day, oh, okay, so we're just kind of going term gender neutral. Okay. It kind of makes you look like a baby when they come for Father's Day, and you object to it because we gave you Mother's Day. But anyway, I didn't come here to talk to you about that per se. Today's subject, and it kind of spreads, it kind of touches on what we just spoke about, public education. It is time, ladies and gentlemen. In the mind of this man behind the microphone, it is time. It's Vader time. No, it's not Vader time. It's time to end public schools. It is time to defund public education. First of all, I resent the fact that I pay taxes to public schools and I don't have any children. That I resent. If you have children, you should have to pay for it. But people who don't have kids, they should not have to pay for public education, especially when it's churning out the imbeciles we see in today's society that can't navigate. Forget about math, which is racist. Forget about history, which is also white supremacy propaganda. These are things they teach in school. Forget all that. These people can't walk across a street. These people can't walk down a sidewalk without getting hit or nearly getting hit because they're glued to their phones. Public schools has churned out some of the most unproductive, uneducated, and useless young people that I think we've ever seen. I mean, these people are legitimately stupid. Legitimately stupid. You take that and you combine it with the relaxed admission of college and the fact that colleges are no longer really in the business of educating people, they're in the business of indoctrinating people. There's a quote, I can't remember who said it, but it said the purpose of education or higher education is to replace an empty mind with an open one. How about that? But are they replacing an empty mind with an open one? No, they're filling it with whatever they want them to believe, and you're not allowed to challenge it. So it's actually the opposite of what school was intended to be. It's the opposite of what the intellectual process was intended to be. It's the opposite of what improving yourself is supposed to mean. But we're all paying for it. And then you get articles like the one I referenced, which again will be down in the description, where you have an Ivy League institution, the best of the best of the best of the best, sir, that prints out just, it's almost like they're trolling us. It's almost like they're saying, look, let's just say the most ridiculous shit that we can say and see if they just believe it just because of the letters following our names. The great Thomas Sowell, I'm going to quote him twice. The one quote is, he was in an interview, I think it was, what was that called? Uncommon Knowledge, with Peter Robinson, and he goes, the principal benefit of a Harvard degree is never again having to be impressed with people who have a Harvard degree. The humility in that statement, and of course the wit, right? But the humility in that statement is what really speaks to me. Another quote, he said, did you ever notice that at the center of every great disaster or every great failed policy, paraphrasing, there seems to be an Ivy League degree? For as smart as these people are, or think they are, they sure say a lot of stupid shit. Public education. Now, not all. Right? Not all, because charter schools fall under the purview of public education. And I would encourage everybody to listen to Thomas Sowell, read his book on charter schools and how you have these charter schools in inner cities. I think he did a case study in Harlem. It was somewhere in New York, the belly of the beast. And you had two sets of kids. You had kids going to a public school, and then you had kids going to a charter school. Now, these schools were within close proximity of each other, and these kids are pretty much from the same neighborhoods. Well, what happens? Well, you notice that the kids in the charter school do monumentally better than the kids in the public school. Same demographics, black and brown kids, outperforming even some of the top echelon schools from kids that come from money. And to me, that's amazing that you can have that evidence. You could have that case study. You could have that proof of the efficacy of this institution, and people are still against it. And the popular dogma, because that's what it is. They don't have an argument. Right? They hear one of their preferred thought leaders, be it Trevor Noah, be it Bill Maher, be it Stephen Colbert, be it whoever, Don Lemon, Rachel Maddow. They get it from their talking head. And then all they do is regurgitate it, right? They don't actually argue the point. They just say that one phrase or that one statement over and over and over again, and then eventually they'll start calling you names, and it's like arguing with like a 6-year-old. It really is. Which informs my new policy of I don't try to engage with these people. I treat them the way Neo treated regular people in the Matrix. I stay the fuck away because you're actually a danger to me. But anyhow, The popular one for this is, a lottery shouldn't decide. We can't have our kids being educated based on lottery. How's that fair? Well, first of all, fair is not a real thing. If fair was a real thing, people wouldn't have birth defects. If fair was a real thing, Africa, in terms of its geography, would be the same as us. If fair was a real thing. And you can anything you want if fair was a real thing. If fair was a real thing, everybody would be born the same height. So the sooner we emancipate ourselves from the notion of fair, the better everything will be, in my opinion. But back to this lottery argument. You know, the inherent fallacy in this argument, just on the surface, before we talk about, you know, the idea of the whatever this lottery thing is that if the kid is not selected for charter school, then they don't get educated, which in a way they're implicitly making the case for charter schools, right? Because if charter schools were no big deal and public school was just as good, then you wouldn't give a shit if your kid didn't go to charter school. But because you know this school is better and you know public school is awful, you make the argument against charter schools instead of making it against public schools. Like that kind of idiocy, I cannot compute. So you have you have two options, option A and option B. Option B is clearly better than option A. So what do? You say we need to get rid of option B? Why wouldn't you take that energy and direct it towards option A? That same energy, we need to get rid of it. Yeah, option A. Maybe we can expand option B. Additionally with that, look, homeschooling, it's up. It is certainly up across the nation, obviously in part due to the China virus. Don't ever forget it. Don't ever let them. Look, when they tell you not to say shit, that's when you forget. So the China virus. A lot of people started homeschooling their kids a lot more, right? So you have more homeschooling. And then, of course, with all the woke bullshit. By the way, this past week, I don't know if you heard, but there was some outrage in Virginia, a formerly good state. You know, Virginia is an interesting case study of what happens to red states that turn purple. And I hope everybody's paying attention, especially here in Florida, because we're getting a lot of people who ain't from here moving down here. And look, I'm not originally from Florida, but I'm not bringing political baggage with me. Which, the more I think about it, there should be some kind of a provision. There should be some kind of a provision made to keep these people from being able to screw up another state. And people are like, wow, so you're advocating taking away somebody's constitutional right? Yes. Is this a foreign concept to you? Is it? Really? Okay. Well, let me ask you this question. If you are convicted of armed robbery, domestic violence, can you go buy a gun legally? No, you cannot. So, you know, if you've been sent to prison, can you vote? Well, they're working to erode that now because the Democrats believe that felons will vote for them. And that says something too, doesn't it? This idea of losing your constitutional privilege or your constitutional right. I don't really like the word rights. I think that's right up there with fair in terms of things we need to get rid of. Human rights. What is a human right? There's such arrogance in that presumption that just simply because you exist, you are entitled to certain things. But yes, I do believe there should be some sort of a provision where these people are not allowed to pollute the solace that they themselves have sought out. Because, like that person who used to have, let's use the Second Amendment, like that person that was trusted with the responsibility, the awesome responsibility of being a custodian and owner of a firearm. But once you breach that trust with the public, well, we take that right away from you to protect everyone. It's really quite elementary, right? Like you would assume that would be the measure taken. Well, I would say that the people who voted for this man that is currently occupying the White House, I don't think it was most of us, but anyway, I think you've demonstrated that you can't be trusted with the right to decide the fate of the most powerful nation on earth, especially if you're swayed by emotional rhetoric, like Orange Man Bad. He's racist. You white supremacist. Right? I mean, how can we on one hand say you're a danger with that firearm, so we're just going to take that away from you, even though the Constitution says you can have it, and that your right to have it won't be infringed. We're going to infringe the fuck out of you. But then with other things equally as important, because I would argue that, well, voting is probably more important than firearm ownership in terms of the repercussions of its abuse. You abuse the firearm, you kill a couple of people, and that is bad. You vote for an imbecile. You destroy an entire nation. But that aside, so we have homeschooling on the rise. We have charter schools, which are a proven upgrade, a proven boon to the public education system. Then we have private schools. I think between the three of those, we're good. We are good. I'm at least willing to try it out. Because these idiots that we're getting out here, man. But anyway, let me get back to the point I was making about Virginia. So Virginia recently, and again, this will also be down in the description for you to peruse at your leisure. The state of Virginia approved some sort of reading material for kids. Oh, you know where this is? Doesn't that make you cringe when you hear those? You're like, oh, God, now what? Well, this particular book teaches children to use the vernacular of the book, how to eat cookie. And yes, we're not talking about Chips Ahoy, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about Clits Ahoy. We're talking about the female sexual reproductive organ. We are talking about performing oral sex on women. Now, I wonder what umbrella they'll throw that under. Is that women's health or is that anti-violence against women? What purview does that fall under? But anyway, this book is actually being given to children to read, but no Dr. Seuss, right? And in the article, it said, yeah, but no To Kill a Mockingbird. Now, granted, there's no love lost between me and To Kill a Mockingbird. There's no love lost to me in most of these horseshit novels that I had to read growing up. But you do it. It's part of pledging the American fraternity. You do some shit that you're like, why? And then, yeah, we talk about it when we get older. I remember you had to read The Giver. What a dumb book. Remember when I had to read James and the Giant Peach? I actually didn't mind James and the Giant Peach. But you do it. But nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen, and obviously people are up in arms about this book teaching children to, perform oral sex on women, which I don't understand how that does not fall under the purview of pedophilia. See, this is oh boy, I'm not going to hit the table. I'm sorry. But when we get on children, I get angry. That's a hot button issue for me. I do not understand what the fuck it is with these people and pushing sex onto children. And I've said before, and I'll say it again, I will not coexist with those kinds of people. So anyhow, people are up in arms about this thing, and I'm just looking at the entirety of what we call education in America. And I'm saying, let's use some of their terms. It's time to reimagine public education. Because again, if we were churning out the top, if we were churning out the cream of the crop, the cream always rises to the top. Yeah, can't stop it. If we were churning out, appreciate that, Macho. If we were churning out the cream of the crop, I'd have less of a leg to stand on. I'd still be making this argument, don't get me wrong. But we're not churning out the cream of the crop. We're not even churning out intelligent people. Then on the very base level, we're not even churning out people who are, I don't know how you would phrase this, but learning capable, right? Because it's one thing to be stupid, but it's another thing to be a stupid person with the capability of learning, a stupid person with an open mind and an eagerness to fill in those gaps. But in a world where there's no shame, well, this is what you get. You get arrogant imbeciles. You get people who cannot string together sentences coherently, but they have the nerve to tell you about how you're wrong. You know, I just don't see where public education is neither necessary as it exists. I'm not saying send out stupid kids. That's not what I'm saying. But let's be quite frank here. We did create an entire society, this world that we're living in right now, without public school. The infrastructure of this was created without public school. Now, I'm not saying I am not saying we do not need to educate young people. Nope, not saying that at all. But I'm saying the current method in which we're doing it is highly ineffective. And it seems to only be getting worse because now we're introducing, it's one thing to not learn the core principles, but now we're introducing shit that is actually destructive to your mind. Woke shit. We're introducing shit that will hold you back, that will hamper your growth as a human being, as an adolescent moving towards adulthood, as someone who is being groomed to carry the mantle of America forward for the next 50 years. So maybe it's time to just shut her down. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I got for you today. Look, if you disagree, that's what the comments are for, man. Tell me why you disagree with me. Otherwise, tell me I'm awesome and a genius. I appreciate that. I'm not a genius, though. Just a guy who's just sick of the dumb shit, you know? But anyway, I appreciate you guys listening. Like I said, man, hang around. We're going to be doing some different things here pretty soon, and I don't want to give you too much right now. But suffice it to say, we're moving in the right direction. So I appreciate you all tuning in. I, as always, appreciate that. And until the next time, peace.